Welcome to our Meet the Experts TV production design panel. Today we are joined by Gavin Bocquet from Silo, Merje Veski from The Bear, Arwel Jones from Black Cake, Suzuki Ingerslev from Based on a True Story, and Grace Yoon from Beef. Thank you all for being here. I think production design is such a cool job because you guys get to create worlds and tell a character's whole life story in a single room sometimes. So what is your favorite part of your job? Suzuki, let's start with you.
I think the most exciting part for me is starting a show and starting to dig in and start doing research and getting everybody on board and figuring out what the look is going to be. I mean, that's when you really get to be creative and you work with your team and you work with the producers and directors. And then after that, you know, it gets a little bit trickier, but that's my favorite part, starting up and doing research.
I mean, I would add that that's the worst and the best, because the first day with a blank piece of paper is sort of, whoa. But then you're right, then it sort of becomes something, a collaboration with the director, with the writers, and then the ideas start to flow. That's when it's really, that's when it gets going.
And I love when you get to like show it to everybody, because, you know, everybody could read that same script that we're all reading and come up with a different, you know, idea of what it is. So getting everybody on that same page is so crucial.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first 2 or 3, 5 to 6 weeks are always a little nerve-wracking, because you're trying to, unless you've worked with the director before, you're always trying to prove to them what they think you can do. So whatever you're showing, in the end, we're working for the director primarily. So it's always nice when you've worked with the director before and you have that trust, but most often it's usually a new director you're working with.
Yeah, sure. Arwel, how about you?
Yeah, same really. That creative process, especially once you're sitting around the table with a director, DOP, getting the juices flowing, kind of talking about what we'd like to do, what is achievable, what's not, or pushing that envelope to try and achieve something that's not really achievable, which is often the case. But I also, one of my favorite bits about my job, I think, is being able to see behind the scenes of other people's jobs. We're very privileged to be allowed into some spaces that normally people don't get to see. And I think it's always a joy to see behind, like when you peek behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Merje?
Yeah, I'm here. All the creative part, learning to know about the backstories of the characters and what they like and don't like and what they do, and then based on that, creating their spaces and interiors around them. That's lots of fun. Lots of research, love that. And I also agree, I've been places where most of the people never ever go or have access to, just because what we do. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Grace, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to add to all of the, I agree with all of you. I think another component that I really enjoy is when you're on set and actually seeing something that you planned unfolding. Like if it was like a very complicated shot that needs to work within the flow of the set, and that's always a good moment. And then also just on the spot problem solving sometimes when something goes wrong, but then you have built enough trust with your creative collaborators that you can think up something on the fly that could actually work and ends up working better. Like those types of unplanned moments are really thrilling, and that's what I like.
Yeah, because that's like partly like instinctual too, right? And a little bit of luck, I guess, if it all works out. So
yeah, it's like you work so you can work and discuss and plan so much, but then like inevitably something may fall apart, and having the discussions within your team and everyone being on the same page, you kind of know how to solve it together, because there's an instinct that's been formed about like this is the themes of the show, this is what the scene means, this is what should be happening in this shot.
mm-hmm. I've heard some production designers say they don't necessarily want their work to be so obvious and stand out, in a scene that it's like distracting and it's noticed per se, because they want it to work in the scene and complement it. So I guess like what is the best compliment someone can give you about your work? Like, do you want them to notice it
I got that one.
exactly like that?
The best is, the crew gets to a location and they're like, it was an empty warehouse at one time, and they're like, wasn't this always a warehouse? I mean, a warehouse with like a restaurant in it? And like, no, we actually put some work into this. I can't tell you how many times crews walk in and think it was just the way it was, and that we've done like absolutely nothing.
You just found the place.
We just found it.
No,
I had on one of my shows, we had a cemetery we had to build somewhere, and we built a house there as well. And one of the writers was, wow, this is amazing. Like, how did you find a cemetery and a house on the same property?
No, I think when the electricians or the riggers compliment your set, you've probably done something right.
Arwel, how about you?
Yeah, I think a very similar thing, when you see people go up and try and touch the walls just to see if it's real or not, or what I quite like as well is when you take your producer or director on the set for the first time when it's finished, fully dressed, and you're talking them through it, but you kind of lose them. They wander off and start playing with the props, or you kind of know that you've nailed it if they start going off into their own world within that space. I think it works then.
If they want to play in the space, so
yeah, if they feel at home in the space, then I think you've done it well.
Mm-hmm. Grace, again.
I guess when an actor says that they feel like their performance was being supported by the space, like they got to really understand the character by walking into the space and gained ideas for their character through it.
Mm-hmm.
A show is never going to survive just on the way it looks, as much as it's very much part of what we do. You really need the whole show with the characters and the dynamics of the story to work. And if we're a small part of making that work, then that's the biggest compliment, I think. I don't think films or shows ever survive just on their sort of visual looks.
Yeah, like everything has to be clicking and working as one. Yeah, for sure. Marianne?
Yeah, I agree for all of the above. And yeah, the final compliment is when it comes from actors, it's just some of the person will come and thank you. It's like, yes, I can feel it here. And they can work around it. It's great.
Mm-hmm. I love when I hear from production designers that they put like details or trinkets in like drawers that will never make it on camera, but they think it's so important for the character and like the backstory. And they've created the backstory like in their own mind, even about like talking to the writer or the actor or something. Or sometimes you could put something in a set and like you could lose it in the edit. So, but what are some of your favorite things or details that you've put on a set in any of your projects that have not made it on camera, but you like that it was in there?
Well, that's a huge answer. That's a huge, so many things. But anyway, carry on. Yes.
No, I was just going to say, based on a true story, the one we're talking about, we thought it was funny that there was a record that was Jailhouse Rock on the turntable. Nobody will ever see that, but we thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm. Gavin, how about you? Have you thought of one?
Nothing really jumps to mind, but there's lots of things we do when we look back at shows we finished that you don't end up seeing. I mean, not every, we can't do everything as a wide shot from the corner of the room, and you have to accept that as long as the ambience on the set when you're there is understood by the actors and the director, then that's enough. But you're always going to be a bit disappointed with something you spent a lot of time working out isn't actually ending up on camera, which get a little bit annoyed, but then you soon have to put that away.
You have to kill your darling sometimes. Merje?
For example, the Bear season 2, the Berzada House episode, I made sure that there's so many trinkets and things around that if actors want to touch them or see them and have enough things in the kitchen for the mother character to play around. We had to stock the refrigerators, all the drawers, because she just goes bananas in there. So, and I think it helped her a lot. I mean, she's a great actress, but like she was able to touch and move and throw things, and it was fun.
Yeah, because you want to be like tactile and
Yeah.
Grace? Yeah.
I think well, I guess on Beef, there was a moment I was on set and they were rehearsing and blocking, and it's when Stephen Yeun's character is sitting at the desk and it's now his apartment is converted to Chobros. I took like some bills and started tearing them up into tiny little pieces and making them into little balls, like as if it was like a nervous reaction, and just put it on the desk. And then Stephen had come around and started using it in the scene, and I thought like, oh cool, you don't actually see it, but he's actually doing it in the performance. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's and you guys didn't even talk about it. You guys never talked about it. He just sat down and picked it up.
Well, he sat down and started picking up and playing with it, and then we had a brief exchange after, and I said, I told him that his rehearsal inspired that I guess balling up or nervous tick, I guess.
Arwel, how about you?
Yeah, no, on a previous show where I did called Inside Man, the lead character that Dave Tennant was playing was very paranoid about being observed. So there's a lot of things that in the room that I turned to be actually looking at him. So that he was being observed by little pottery characters and paintings and stuff. But what you didn't see, there was some wooden ducks out in the garden as well, looking at his window. So I knew they were there, but you never really saw them on camera.
That's all that matters when you know they're there. So yeah. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap, but thank you so much for your time. It was great speaking with all of you, and congratulations on all of your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Yeah.